In today's world, we have access to more information than any generation in human history. We can learn anything, anytime, anywhere. We have libraries at our fingertips, experts willing to count us, and countless resources available to us 24 hours a day. Yet despite all this access to knowledge, most people are still struggling, still dreaming the same dreams year after year without making any real progress. Why? Because knowledge without application is merely entertainment. Information without implementation is just another form of procrastination. And wisdom without action is nothing more than sophisticated ignorance. I've met thousands of people who could tell you exactly what they need to do to change their lives. They know they should exercise regularly, eat better, save money, invest wisely, build better relationships, develop new skills, and pursue their dreams with passion and persistence. They can quote the books, recite the principles, and explain the strategies. But when you look at their lives, when you examine their daily routines, when you observe their actual behaviors, there's a disconnect. A gap so wide you could drive a truck through it. This gap is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's a choice. And until we understand why this gap exists and how to bridge it, we'll continue to live lives of quiet desperation, wondering why everyone else seems to be moving forward while we remain stuck in the same place. The first reason this gap exists is because we've been conditioned to believe that learning is the same as doing. We attend seminars and feel inspired. We read books and feel motivated. We watch videos and feel ready to conquer the world. But inspiration without perspiration leads to frustration. Motivation without action leads to stagnation. And feeling ready without actually starting leads to a lifetime of preparing to live instead of actually living. You see, there's a seductive quality to learning that makes us feel like we're making progress when we're actually standing still. It's what I call the illusion of progress. We collect information like trophies. We accumulate knowledge like badges of honor. We pride ourselves on how much we know without ever asking ourselves the more important question, how much are we actually applying of what we know? I remember meeting a man who had attended every success seminar in the country. His library was filled with books on personal development, business strategy, and wealth building. He could quote Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie like scripture. But when I looked at his life, nothing had changed in the past decade. He was still in the same job, earning the same income, living the same routine, dreaming the same dreams. He had become a professional student of success without ever becoming a practitioner of success. The second reason this gap exists is because we underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. We're living in a world that celebrates overnight success and instant gratification. We want the microwave results from crockpot processes. We want to compress time and skip the seasons of development that are necessary for lasting change. But here's what I've learned after decades of observation. Success is not about grand gestures or dramatic transformations. Success is about the daily disciplines that we either embrace or neglect. It's about the small choices we make consistently over time that compound into extraordinary results. The difference between successful people and everyone else is not that successful people have access to better information. It's not that they're more talented or more intelligent or more blessed. The difference is that successful people have developed the discipline to do what they know they should do, even when they don't feel like doing it. Especially when they don't feel like doing it. Let me share with you a simple but profound truth. Your life doesn't change when you gain new knowledge. Your life changes when you apply new knowledge, and application requires something that knowledge alone cannot provide. It requires discipline. It requires consistency. It requires the willingness to do what's right instead of what's easy. Think about this for a moment. Everyone knows that regular exercise improves health, increases energy, and enhances quality of life. Everyone knows that eating nutritious foods and avoiding junk food leads to better physical condition and mental clarity. Everyone knows that saving money and investing wisely creates financial security and freedom. But knowing these things doesn't automatically translate into doing these things. Why? Because doing requires effort. Doing requires sacrifice. Doing requires us to give up immediate pleasures for long-term benefits. And most people are not willing to make that trade-off. They want the results that come from discipline, but they don't want to pay the price that discipline demands. This brings me to the third reason this gap exists. We've confused activity with accomplishment. We're busy, but we're not productive. We're in motion, but we're not making progress. We're doing things, but we're not doing the right things. I see people who work 12 hours a day but never seem to get ahead. I see entrepreneurs who are constantly busy but never see their businesses grow. I see individuals who are always learning something new but never mastering anything completely. They've fallen into the trap of substituting activity for achievement. The key is not to do more things. The key is to do more of the right things. And the right things are usually the things we know we should be doing but keep putting off for tomorrow. They're the activities that don't feel urgent but are ultimately important. They're the disciplines that don't provide immediate gratification but create long-term transformation. Let me give you an example that illustrates this perfectly. I know a woman who wanted to write a book for 15 years. She attended writing workshops, bought books on publishing, joined writers' groups, and talked constantly about her dream of becoming an author. She knew everything there was to know about writing and publishing, but she had never written a single page of her book. When I asked her why, she had 100 reasons. She didn't have enough time. She wasn't sure about the topic. She needed to do more research. She wanted to wait until she felt more inspired. She was waiting for the perfect conditions. Sound familiar? The truth is, she was using her pursuit of knowledge as an excuse to avoid the hard work of actually writing. Learning about writing felt productive. It felt like progress, but it wasn't writing. And all the knowledge in the world about writing won't produce a book. Only writing produces a book. This leads me to another crucial insight. Perfect conditions never arrive. The ideal time never comes. The perfect plan never emerges. And waiting for everything to line up perfectly is just another way of saying you're not ready to do the work. Successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create conditions. They don't wait for inspiration. They act their way into inspiration. They don't wait until they feel ready. They get ready by starting. The fourth reason this gap exists is because we've adopted a consumer mentality toward personal development. We consume information like we consume entertainment. We expect to be passive recipients rather than active participants. We want success to be delivered to us rather than developed by us. But personal development is not a spectator sport. You can't achieve success by watching others succeed. You can't build wealth by studying wealthy people. You can't improve your relationships by reading about healthy relationships. You can't develop new skills by listening to experts talk about those skills. You have to get in the game. You have to participate. You have to do the work. I learned this lesson early in my business career when I worked for a very successful entrepreneur. I watched him carefully, took notes on everything he did, and studied his methods religiously. I thought that by observing his success, I would somehow absorb his abilities. But watching someone swim doesn't teach you how to swim. Observing someone play piano doesn't make you a pianist, and studying successful people doesn't automatically make you successful. It wasn't until I stopped being a student of his success and started becoming a practitioner of the principles I had learned that my life began to change. The transformation didn't happen when I gained the knowledge. It happened when I applied the knowledge. This brings me to a fundamental truth that I want you to write down, remember, and review regularly. Information is not transformation. Education is not implementation. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. You see, knowledge sitting in your head, unused and unapplied, is like money sitting in a bank account earning no interest. It has potential, but it's not producing results. It's not creating value. It's not changing your circumstances or improving your life. The fifth reason this gap exists is because we've developed what I call analysis paralysis. We study every angle, research every possibility, and examine every potential outcome before willing to take action. We want guarantees before we begin. We want certainty in an uncertain world. We want to eliminate all risk before we're willing to take any risk. But here's what I've discovered. The perfect plan doesn't exist. The risk-free opportunity is a myth. The guaranteed outcome is an illusion. And while we're studying and analyzing and preparing and planning, life is passing us by. Opportunities are disappearing. Time is ticking away. And our dreams are getting smaller and smaller until they eventually fade away completely. I'm not suggesting that you act recklessly or make decisions without thought. I'm suggesting that there comes a point where additional analysis becomes a substitute for action. There comes a moment when more planning becomes an excuse for not starting. There comes a time when further preparation becomes procrastination in disguise. The most successful people I know are not the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who had good plans and the courage to execute them. They're the ones who were willing to adjust and adapt as they went along rather than trying to figure out every detail before they began. Let me share with you one of the most liberating concepts I've ever learned. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. Progress is more important than perfection. Action is more valuable than analysis. And a mediocre plan that gets implemented will always beat a perfect plan that never gets started. The sixth reason this gap exists is because we underestimate the compound effect of small, consistent actions over time. We're looking for the big breakthrough, the quantum leap, the overnight transformation. But success doesn't usually happen that way. Success is like a tree growing. You can't see the growth happening day by day, but over months and years, the transformation is undeniable. Every discipline neglected affects our future. Every discipline practiced improves our future. And the disciplines that seem insignificant in the moment become significant over time through the power of compound interest. If you read just 10 pages of a good book every day, you'll read over a dozen books in a year. If you save just $5 a day, you'll have over $1,800 at the end of the year. If you exercise for just 20 minutes a day, you'll log over 100 hours of fitness activity annually. These small actions don't seem like much when you're doing them, but their cumulative effect is enormous. The problem is that we can't see the immediate results of our positive actions, so we tend to discount their value. We plant the seed today, but don't see the harvest for months or years, and because we live in a world of instant everything, we get discouraged and give up before the compound effect has time to work its magic. But I want you to understand something crucial. Every action you take is either moving you toward your goals or away from your goals. There is no neutral ground. Every choice either adds to your success account or subtracts from it. Every decision either builds your future or erodes it. And the small choices you make consistently over time will ultimately determine the quality of your life. The seventh reason this gap exists is because we've confused motion with progress. We mistake being busy for being productive. We think that as long as we're doing something, we're making progress toward our goals. But activity without purpose is just sophisticated procrastination. I see people who spend hours on social media thinking they're networking. I see individuals who attend meeting after meeting but never make any decisions. I see entrepreneurs who work on everything except the activities that actually generate revenue. They're in constant motion, but they're not moving forward. They're busy, but they're not effective. The key is to focus on activities that produce results rather than activities that simply consume time. What gets measured gets managed. What gets tracked gets improved. And what gets prioritized gets accomplished. You need to ask yourself regularly, are the activities I'm engaged in today moving me closer to my goals, or are they just keeping me busy? Am I working on what's important, or am I just working on what's urgent? Am I making progress, or am I just making excuses? The eighth reason this gap exists is because we lack the discipline to do what's difficult when it's difficult. We want to exercise when we feel energetic, eat healthy when healthy food tastes good, save money when we have extra money, and work on our goals when we feel inspired. But life doesn't work that way. The moments when you least feel like doing what you should do are the moments when it's most important to do what you should do. The days when you don't feel like exercising are the days when exercise will benefit you most. The times when you don't feel like saving money are the times when saving money requires the most discipline. The moments when you don't feel inspired to work on your goals are the moments when working on your goals builds the most character. Successful people have developed the ability to do what failures won't do. They've learned to act based on commitment rather than feelings. They've discovered that discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. And they've realized that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. This leads me to one of the most important principles I can share with you. You don't have to like doing what you need to do. You just have to do what you need to do. Feelings are not facts. Emotions are not instructions. And moods are not mandates. Your feelings will often lie to you. They'll tell you that you can skip your workout just this once. They'll convince you that you deserve that expensive purchase you can't afford. They'll whisper that you can start tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. But if you wait until you feel like doing what you should do, you'll spend your entire life waiting. The ninth reason this gap exists is because we've been taught to value comfort over growth. We prefer the familiar to the beneficial. We choose the easy path over the effective path. We select what feels good over what is good. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Security is the enemy of achievement. And staying in your comfort zone is the surest way to ensure that your life never changes. Everything you want in life is on the other side of fear, discomfort, and uncertainty. The career you want requires skills you don't yet have. The relationship you desire demands vulnerability you haven't shown. The financial freedom you seek requires disciplines you haven't developed. The health you want necessitates habits you haven't formed. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. You cannot improve your life without changing your life. And you cannot change your life without doing things differently than you're doing them now. I want you to consider this carefully. The greatest risk in life is not taking risks. The biggest failure is not trying. The most dangerous thing you can do is play it safe. Because while you're protecting yourself from potential failure, you're also protecting yourself from potential success. The 10th reason this gap exists is because we underestimate the power of environment and overestimate the power of willpower. We think we can overcome a negative environment through sheer determination. We believe we can resist temptation through mental toughness alone. We assume we can change our habits without changing our surroundings. But environment is stronger than willpower. Association is more powerful than determination. And the people you spend time with will influence your behavior more than your best intentions ever will. If you want to eat healthier, you need to remove junk food from your environment. If you want to save more money, you need to make spending more difficult and saving easier. If you want to exercise regularly, you need to eliminate the friction between you and your workout. If you want to read more, you need to make books more accessible than your phone or television. Success is not about having stronger willpower than everyone else. Success is about creating systems and environments that make the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. The people you associate with also play a crucial role in bridging this gap between knowing and doing. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Your income will be approximately the average of your 5 closest friends. Your habits will mirror the habits of the people you spend the most time with. And your level of success will rarely exceed the level of success of your peer group. If you're serious about closing the gap between knowing and doing, you need to evaluate your associations carefully. Are the people around you encouraging your growth or enabling your excuses? Are they challenging you to be better or allowing you to stay the same? Are they examples of what you want to become or reminders of what you want to leave behind? This brings me to another critical insight. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. And changing your direction is as simple as making better decisions today than you made yesterday. The bridge between knowing and doing is built one decision at a time, one action at a time, one day at a time. You don't have to transform your entire life in a single moment. You just have to improve your life in single moments, consistently over time. Let me share with you a simple but powerful strategy for closing this gap. Start small, but start today. Pick one thing you know you should be doing but aren't doing and commit to doing it for just 15 minutes a day. Not an hour, not 2 hours, just 15 minutes. If you want to exercise, commit to 15 minutes of physical activity daily. If you want to read more, commit to 15 minutes of reading daily. If you want to build a business, commit to 15 minutes of business building activities daily. If you want to improve your relationships, commit to 15 minutes of focused conversation with someone important to you daily. 15 minutes doesn't sound like much, and that's exactly why it works. It's not intimidating. It's not overwhelming. It's not something you can make excuses about. Everyone has 15 minutes. And if you can't find 15 minutes for something that's important to you, then it's not really important to you. But here's the magic of this approach. 15 minutes will turn into 30 minutes. 30 minutes will turn into an hour, and an hour will turn into a lifestyle. But you don't start with the lifestyle. You start with 15 minutes. The key is to be consistent rather than perfect. It's better to do something small every day than to do something big once in a while. Consistency beats intensity. Persistence beats perfection. And showing up regularly beats showing up occasionally. Another crucial strategy for bridging this gap is to focus on process rather than outcomes. Most people focus on results they want to achieve instead of systems they need to follow. They set goals based on destinations instead of directions. And when they don't see immediate results, they get discouraged and quit. But systems thinking changes everything. Instead of focusing on losing 20 pounds, focus on eating one healthy meal every day. Instead of focusing on reading 50 books this year, focus on reading 10 pages every day. Instead of focusing on building $1 million business, focus on serving one customer excellently every day. When you focus on the process, the results take care of themselves. When you focus on the system, the goals achieve themselves. And when you focus on the daily disciplines, the long-term dreams become inevitable. I also want to address one of the most common mistakes people make when trying to bridge this gap. They try to change everything at once. They get excited about a new idea or inspired by a seminar or motivated by a book, and they decide to completely overhaul their life immediately. They're going to exercise every day, eat perfectly, read for 2 hours, meditate for 30 minutes, call their family regularly, work on their business plan, learn a new skill, and save more money. All starting tomorrow. How long do you think this lasts? A few days, a week? Maybe 2 weeks if they have exceptional willpower. But eventually, the enthusiasm wears off, life gets in the way, and they abandon the entire program. Then they feel like failures, which makes them less likely to try again in the future. The solution is to focus on one change at a time. Master one new habit before adding another. Build one new discipline before attempting a second. Create one positive pattern before trying to establish additional patterns. This might seem slower than trying to change everything at once, but it's actually much faster. One change that sticks is infinitely more valuable than 10 changes that don't stick. One habit that becomes automatic is worth more than 20 habits that require constant willpower. Remember, you're not just trying to do something once. You're trying to become someone who does that something consistently. And becoming requires time, patience, and persistence. Let me also emphasize the importance of tracking your progress. What gets measured gets managed. What gets recorded gets repeated. And what gets monitored gets multiplied. Keep a simple journal of your daily actions. Note what you did, how long you did it, and how you felt afterward. This serves several purposes. It creates accountability. It provides motivation when you can see your progress. It helps you identify patterns and obstacles, and it builds momentum as your streak of consistent action grows longer. Don't make tracking complicated. A simple check mark on a calendar is sufficient. The goal is not to create a perfect system. The goal is to create awareness and accountability. I want to address another barrier that prevents people from bridging the gap between knowing and doing: perfectionism. Perfectionists often struggle with implementation because they're afraid of making mistakes. They want to have the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, and the perfect execution before they're willing to begin. But perfectionism is not excellence. Perfectionism is fear disguised as high standards. Excellence is about doing your best with what you have. Perfectionism is about refusing to start until you can guarantee the outcome. The truth is, you will make mistakes. You will have setbacks. You will face obstacles you didn't anticipate. You will discover that your initial approach needs adjustment. This is not failure. This is learning. This is growth. This is the natural process of developing new skills and habits. The goal is not to avoid mistakes. The goal is to learn from mistakes faster than your competition. The goal is not to have a perfect journey. The goal is to have a persistent journey. The goal is not to never fall down. The goal is to get back up every time you fall down. I also want to talk about the role of accountability in closing this gap. Most people try to change their lives in isolation. They make private commitments that nobody else knows about. They set goals that nobody else is tracking. They work on improvements that nobody else is monitoring. But accountability accelerates achievement. When you know that someone else is paying attention to your progress, you're more likely to follow through on your commitments. When you have to report your results to another person, you're less likely to make excuses for your lack of action. Find an accountability partner. Join a group of people working on similar goals. Hire a coach or mentor. Make public commitments that create positive pressure for you to follow through. Create consequences for not following through and rewards for consistency. The key is to make accountability encouraging rather than punitive. The goal is not to create shame or guilt when you fall short. The goal is to create support and motivation to help you get back on track. Now, I want to share with you one of the most powerful concepts I've learned about bridging the gap between knowing and doing, the concept of identity-based habits. Most people try to change their behavior without changing their identity. They want to act differently without becoming different. But lasting change happens at the identity level, not the behavior level. Instead of saying, I want to exercise, say, I am someone who exercises. Instead of saying, I want to eat healthier, say, I am someone who takes care of my body. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, say, I am someone who does what it takes to succeed. When you change your identity, your behavior follows naturally. When you see yourself as a certain type of person, you automatically act in ways that are consistent with that identity. You don't have to force yourself to do the right things. You do the right things because that's who you are. This shift in thinking is subtle but profound. It moves you from external motivation to internal motivation. It transforms discipline from something you have to do to something you choose to do because it aligns with who you are. Let me share with you another insight that has served me well over the years. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your daily routine. Show me what someone does every day and I'll show you what their life looks like. Show me their morning routine and I'll tell you how successful they are. Show me how they spend their free time and I'll predict their future. Your routine is your destiny. Your habits are your future. And your daily disciplines determine your long-term results more than your goals, your dreams, or your intentions ever will. The people who achieve extraordinary results don't have extraordinary days. They have ordinary days that they execute extraordinarily well. They don't do amazing things occasionally. They do simple things consistently. And over time, those simple things compound into extraordinary outcomes. This brings me to another crucial point. You must learn to delay gratification. The gap between knowing and doing often exists because we want immediate pleasure more than we want long-term results. We choose what feels good now over what's good for us later. We select instant gratification over delayed satisfaction. But every successful person has learned to reverse this tendency. They've developed the ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term gain. They've learned to invest in their future rather than consume their present. They've discovered that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Delayed gratification is not about depriving yourself. It's about making intelligent choices. It's about understanding that everything has a price and deciding whether you're willing to pay the price for what you want. It's about recognizing that you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything you want. The price of success is paid in advance. The cost of excellence is paid up front. And the investment in your future must be made today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. I want you to understand that closing the gap between knowing and doing is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. It's a daily choice. It's a commitment that you must renew every morning when you wake up. There will be days when you don't feel motivated. There will be weeks when you don't see progress. There will be moments when you question whether your efforts are worth it. This is normal. This is expected. This is part of the process. The difference between successful people and everyone else is not that successful people don't have these moments. The difference is that successful people continue to act despite these moments. They've learned that motivation follows action, not the other way around. They've discovered that you don't have to feel like doing something to benefit from doing something. Let me leave you with this final thought. Your life will not change when you change your circumstances. Your life will change when you change yourself. And you change yourself by changing what you do every day. Not what you think about doing, not what you plan to do, not what you know you should do, what you actually do. The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams disappear, but it doesn't have to be where your dreams disappear. You have the power to bridge that gap. You have the ability to transform knowledge into action. You have the capacity to turn what you know into what you do. But it requires a decision. A decision to stop learning about success and start practicing success. A decision to stop preparing for life and start living life. A decision to stop dreaming about your future and start building your future. The bridge between knowing and doing is built with action. One step at a time, one choice at a time. One day at a time, but it must be built. And it must be built by you. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else can walk across it for you. And nobody else can benefit from it for you. The gap exists. The bridge is possible. The choice is yours. What are you going to do?